Today we're going to go over how to solve some equations. Then you'll have a chance to solve some on your own. Let's start by looking at a first problem. Now this problem, we're not going to start with numbers, but with this scale. And a scale stays balanced as long as both sides of it have an equal amount on them. So let's load up our scale. Now we can see on the left side, we have an x representing some mystery amount. And with the x, we can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4 more. So on the left side of the scale, we have x plus 4. On the right side of the scale, we could just count up that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12. So we know the equation we are starting with here is x plus 4 equals 12. Our goal in this problem is to figure out what the x equals. The problem is, right now we have this plus 4 attached to our x. What we want to do is get rid of those extra 4. Using numbers, we can cancel out the plus 4 with a minus 4. But hold on, there's a problem. If I take 4 away from one side of the scale, my scale would no longer be balanced. Whenever I do something to one side of an equation, I have to do the same thing to the other side. So on the right side, I'll also take away 4, or subtract 4. Now we can go ahead and solve this equation. On the left side, plus 4 and minus 4 cancel each other out. We're left with just an x. On the right side, we have 12 minus 4. What does that equal? Well, 12 minus 4 equals 8, so we can say that x equals 8. And that's what we see in our scale as well. Now let's look at another problem, and this time we're only going to show the equation. Let's look at x minus 6 equals 8. To solve this equation, we need to get x by itself, and the problem is right now there's a minus 6 attached to it. Well, just like we got rid of the plus 4 by subtracting 4, we'll get rid of the minus 6 by adding 6, the opposite. And remember, if we do something to one side of an equation, we have to do it to the other side. Now we can solve this equation out. Well, minus 6 and plus 6 will cancel out. We'll just have an x. And on the right side, we'll have 8 plus 6, which equals what? 8 plus 6 equals 14. So in this, x equals 14. Let's do some of these together. Let's look at the equation x plus 6 equals 4. Remember that to solve this equation, I have to get the x by itself, so I'll need to cancel out the plus 6. How can I cancel out plus 6? To get rid of the plus 6, you do the opposite. You subtract 6. And remember, if you take 6 away from one side, you have to take 6 away from the other side. When you solve out this equation, what do you get? Well, you get that the plus 6 and the minus 6 cancel each other out. You just have an x on the left. On the right side of the equation, you have 4 minus 6. Well, 4 minus 6 you can solve is negative 2. And so our answer is that x equals negative 2. Let's look at another. Let's look at the equation x minus 3 equals negative 1. Well, what is the first thing I need to do in this problem? Remember, my goal is to get the x by itself, so I have to get rid of this minus 3. We can get rid of a minus 3 by doing the opposite, by adding 3. And if we add 3 to the left, what do we need to do on the right side? Well, remember, we always do the same thing to both sides of an equation, so on the right side, we also need to add 3. Now let's solve this equation out. What do you get? Well, the minus 3 and plus 3 on the left cancel out. We're just left with an x. On the right side, we have negative 1 plus 3. That equals 2, and so in this problem, x equals 2. Now it's time for you to practice some of these on your own. Let's look at the equation x plus 8 equals 2. Solve this out. What does x equal? Well, you need to start by getting rid of the plus 8. To get rid of a plus 8, just subtract 8, and remember to do it from both sides. When you solve this out, you'll find that the plus 8 minus 8 cancel out, so you're left with just x. And on the right side, 2 minus 8 is negative 6. X equals negative 6. And now here's our last problem for this video. X minus 3.5 equals 4.8. Solve this out on your own. What do you get? Well, hopefully the decimals didn't throw you off. We treat it just like any other equation. To get x alone, we have to remove the minus 3.5. Well, we do this by doing the opposite. We add 3.5, and we do it to both sides. When you solve this out, minus 3.5 and plus 3.5, those cancel out, so you're left with just x. And on the right side, you can calculate 4.8 plus 3.5 gives you 8.3. So in this equation, you can solve that x equals 8.3. From today, you need to remember that you must do the same thing to both sides of an equation. You also need to remember that addition is used to cancel subtraction, and that subtraction is used to cancel addition.